Judy, welcome.
Hi, Tanya. Great to be here.
We're so excited. You're coming in with a very different perspective on counseling and cooking.
Yes.
So, Julie, I think we haven't had anybody else like you on our show. Maybe we need to start at the very beginning. Can you
Um,
tell us a little bit about your cooking background?
Definitely. So for me, there's two ways to answer this question. The earlier version is that as a kid, I was always somebody who found great joy and comfort in the kitchen with my mom, with my grandma. There were always just a sense of peace and happiness and reassurance that took place in the kitchen. So from a very young age, I knew that the kitchen was a special place and that good things happened there. Fast forward about 25 years or so, and I found myself in graduate school getting my master's in social work. And we were faced with writing a master's thesis. And I knew immediately what I was going to write about was going to be writing that cooking can be therapeutic. And that's what I did. And this was about 20 years ago, a little more than 20 years ago. And it's been a journey for me ever since, being able to find ways and share with the world how really there are so many possibilities about how to find comfort and skill and benefit from practicing cooking while in the kitchen.
Beautiful. And you call it culinary art therapy.
I do, yes.
Beautiful. So, that blend of counseling and cooking together, what does that actually look like?
So for every client, every session, it looks a little bit different. The overall structure of what I do is generally the same. I always start off with my intake form, my questionnaire, get to know my client in terms of what are they seeking help for? Is it something truly rooted in therapeutic desire, necessity, skill? Or is it just something that people want to do to feel good, to learn a lesson in their life and practice something that's good for them? So I always try and get to know them. Of course, I find out if there's any food allergies, food aversions, food issues. I'm big on food and memory, so I love asking people what are some of their good, positive food memories that they have. And with the information that I collect for them, I put together a proposed session with a menu, with discussion topics, skills that we're going to talk about, and we really work together to tailor make an opportunity that sounds good to the client.
Mm.
So we always start off the same, and then there's always cooking, there's always discussion, and there's always kind of a summary discussion of what did the client get from this session and how do they take it out of the kitchen into their real world life. The recipes always are a little bit different. The themes are always a little bit different, but the goals really are the same in the sense of this is something that should help empower the client, really help to make them feel they have a new approach on whatever their issue at hand is, and hopefully have them feel like they can take those skills outside of the kitchen into the real world and do great things with it.
Well, it's beautiful. Absolutely love it. And so, while you're cooking, is it quiet and therapeutic in nature, or does it look like it would look if anyone was cooking with someone they feel very comfortable with? How does it
Yeah.
look?
So, I always said there's so many amazing creative therapeutic techniques, right? There wasn't too long ago that things like music therapy and art therapy were new to the world, and people were just learning about them and trying to understand how those techniques could have therapeutic benefit. And to me, cooking is really no different. It is another creative form of expression, and there's so much to be discovered in it depending on the person, depending on the need. So yes, there is that quiet moment. There definitely can be a calm in the kitchen for sure. But there's so much opportunity for so many amazing skills to be learned. Anything from mindfulness, communication, problem solving, time management. So many things that we learn and we practice in the kitchen. But these are really crucial life skills that we all need to practice in our life outside of the kitchen.
Beautiful. Sorry, cough a second.
No choking allowed.
Yeah, excuse me. That's why we can. Oh, why we can edit. Okay. have a little bit of a cold. This is why we're happy on other sides of the screen. So, sorry, Julie.
Okay.
So you'd mentioned taking those skills out of the kitchen. What does that look like? We work with a lot with families. What would that look like for families?
Yes. So families are one of my favorites because there's so many ways, there's so many things that happen in the kitchen
Sorry.
that really,
One sec. Sorry. Sorry, Julie.
oh no,
Now it's going.
oh, that's the worst.
I was trying to hit my mute button. One sec. Okay, beautiful. So there's a mute here. So we'll just hit it if we have to.
Okay.
Just get it out. Sorry.
Yeah, get it out. No, it's okay. Hopefully you have some warm tea in
Okay.
there.
I'm going to ask you again, and I'm going to mute. So just ignore me.
Okay.
Okay. It's weird. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So Julie, you'd mentioned taking it out of the kitchen and using it in real life. For many families, cooking can be a really stressful event. What would that look like?
So first of all, I would say
Oh,
any,
sorry. That was muted.
no, no.
Okay, now we're ready. So Julie, you'd mentioned taking it out of the kitchen and really using it in real life. For many of our families, cooking and mealtimes can be incredibly stressful. How would we use this? What would this look like?
So first of all, I definitely would say any client who's coming to culinary art therapy, there should be a simple either an interest or a basic comfort level of wanting to give this a try and wanting to be in the kitchen, because not every intervention is going to be the right intervention for everyone. So I would say first and foremost, if somebody finds being in the kitchen extremely stressful, then maybe this isn't the practice for them, and that's okay. There's plenty of other ways to be able to help different people. But if this is something that either a family has a desire that they want to make mealtime less stressful, they want to start including their kids in the process, there's any sort of request, desire, there's a little bit of a door opening into, giving this a try, then I say go for it. So, the way that this works is like any other therapeutic approach. When you have me or another culinary art therapist as the facilitator, you really have somebody there helping to aid in the process and helping to coach the family through all of it, not just the fun parts, not just the food, but any tension or any stress that does come up in a session. Something that typically comes up with most families with younger kids when I do this work is oftentimes the sense of control that we know as adults, as parents especially, we want to be able to help set the tone, be able to make the decisions, and really kind of do things our own way. Sometimes kids are okay with that, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes that really does create tension. Cooking is a great way to kind of test the waters about relinquishing some of that power and control and letting the kids feel a little bit more empowered to give things a try. So, for example, if you're following a recipe and all of a sudden a child says, "Oh, I want to do it this way. I want to try it that way." The parent's reaction might be to say, "Well, the recipe says let's do it this way, and we have to follow the directions." And that's when I would step in and say, "Well, actually, let's give it a try. What do you think would happen if maybe we did it a different way? Or what would happen if, little Tommy tried it a different way? What could be?" Most of the time, and this is one of the beautiful parts about cooking, is that it doesn't need to be an exact form. Again, I'm not talking about making very technical, difficult dishes. I'm talking about making a salad, making something that doesn't need to be exactly done precisely the way the recipe says. and you try something new and the family can see there can be a success. So it's so amazing to watch little Tommy, watch the kids see my way made it a success. Wow, like I can do this. And then you watch the parents say, maybe I don't need to be so in control or manage every detail. And maybe my son or daughter really is able and capable of more than I'm giving them the ability to try. And it's really just provides these beautiful aha moments for both the parent and the child. That's incredible.
It's beautiful. I love it. So when families are listening to you today, where do they even start? What's a good starting point for them?
So I would say really the first starting point is to think about what do you want out of the experience? What is it that is a goal for you? Because again, every family is different. Every family's needs are different, and that's the way that it should be. So don't try and do things to make it work for someone else. Really start and find a way to think about and identify what are your goals for you and for your family. And once you have that starting point, I think it's much easier to then kind of set out a path for what that looks like, whether you are working with me as a clinician or it's something you're trying out on your own. Start small, start with baby steps, try and implement small things, whether it's just getting more people involved in the process. But even if it involves takeout, your first couple of tries, and it's not about cooking a 7-course meal on your own, but maybe you're ordering a pizza and you're making a salad on your own to go with it. Or maybe you're setting the table in a special way. Maybe you're setting a goal for your family to spend 10 minutes around the table together. I think so often families, parents especially, think that in order to be successful, we have to have very lofty, very really, really deep goals to be achieving our success. And that's not the case. So I say start small, build from there, and see where things can go.
I love that. So start small, build from there. And then if things do go off track, if stress does build, there is conflict, you put in too much sugar or you're taking over, this was supposed to be my salad, whatever it is,
Right.
what do you suggest at that point?
First of all, always take a breath. Just like when any conflict arises inside the kitchen or outside of the kitchen, definitely take a minute, step back, and I think that it's really important to remind ourselves what's the end game here. What are the stakes here? This is not open heart surgery where nobody is bleeding. God forbid. If a salad doesn't come out just right or something ends up being too salty or too sweet, it's not the end of the world. And the thing about cooking is we have to eat. We have to eat frequently. There are many more opportunities to try it all again. And I think that's really important to remember that the stakes are low, to really kind of take off some of that pressure and remind ourselves that there's always another opportunity to give it a go. Whether you say, you know what, we're going to call it here, we made it this far, push through or not, and try again tomorrow or next week or whenever, you feel motivated to give it another go.
Yeah, I love that so much because I think for so many families, there's pressure to make this family meal really work and this bonding experience I've created with my child right now. It has to be perfect.
Yes.
And when it doesn't, I think it often feels like, why even try? So then it's like, okay, fine, everybody get out of the kitchen and we have 30 minutes before we go to hockey or wherever it might be. I'm just going to cook really quickly and get it out on the table. But here you're just saying it's okay, take a breath. It doesn't have to work every time. And it sounds like it really is just practice,
Yes.
it's repetition.
Yeah, like everything else in life, right? Practice makes, I don't want to say perfect because there's no such thing as perfect, but practice always makes better.
Yeah.
And again, as parents, there's so many shoulds in life, that we need to remember that things don't need to look a certain way that we have in our head. They need to look the way that works and feels right for our own family.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that might be 10 minutes, gathered around the table versus an hour and a half of a 7-course meal.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Julie, I know that you are a huge advocate of the family meal. Can
Yes.
we talk a little bit about that? What are the benefits? What are your thoughts on it? You've already given us some tips today, but how do we get it right, if there
Yeah.
is a get it right.
Yes, absolutely. I am a huge believer in the power of the family meal. There's been so much research done over the years talking about how, as families, our kids and our parents are healthier people when we engage around the table together. For me, yes, a big part of that process is not just gathering around the table, but what happens before to get everything ready to be at the table. And really, what it's about, it's about spending time together, engaging with the people that we love, and showing up. Making them the priority, choosing them, and really connecting. So again, it doesn't need to be 90 minutes. I think so many people think I'm rushing to hockey. I've got soccer practice. We've got all these things that we're doing. There's just no way that we can sit down as a family every night of the week and make it work. And I'm saying, you're right. You don't need to sit down around the table every night of the week as a family. That might not be realistic, but as a family, could you sit down around the table for brunch on a Saturday morning once a week? There's ways to make it work for your family, and to not say that it needs to look a certain way. It needs to work for you. And that might be, Friday night uh, pizza and salad. That might be a Saturday brunch. That for some families, maybe it is dinner 5 nights a week. Every family is different. Every family has different needs. But I think that there's a way to make it a priority to spend that quality time together and really invest in each other, because what's more important than our families, right?
And I love that pull away from family dinner to family meal. It's like what works for you: breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Exactly.
Make
It's
it
not the
work.
it's not the meal that's the magic. It's the effort, the time together. That's what makes the difference. It doesn't matter if it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack time, dessert. That's not what it's about. So yes, you really have to do what works for you.
Yeah, no problem. Julie, so the research behind family meals, what does it show? What does it tell us?
So many things from mental health to physical health. Families where the kids are involved and engaged with the family meal, they're less likely to be involved with drugs and alcohol, either as a child or later on. They're less likely to experience eating disorders, to have a better, healthier relationship with food. They're more likely to know themselves, to have stronger ties with a loved one, with hopefully a parent or a sibling. And I think we all know that when you have positive family relationships, there's so many other benefits that come along with that. And
Mhm.
I think, every parent wants that for their kids. Every parent wants their child to be healthy and happy. And this is so fantastic because you don't need outside expensive or very specific tools that you don't have. All of the tools and all of the abilities to achieve those things in many ways, or to do your best to achieve them, because there's no guarantees in life. But they're all right here in your home, right here in your kitchen.
Beautiful. So for families who are going, yes, this is what I want. I want to try and create more experiences of family meals. Where do they even start? What are some of your pro tips for getting those family meals moving?
Yeah. So first of all, I try and post regularly on Instagram. So I would definitely say, check out my account on Instagram, which is Culinary Art Therapy, for some tips and some ideas, some motivation, some inspiration. There's lots of different recipes out there, and I think Instagram in general is great for food inspiration. Um, Again, it doesn't need to be fancy and elaborate. It needs to work for your family. So I think keeping that in mind, really, even sitting down and having a family conversation and saying, everybody go around and say, what are two of your favorite foods? What are two of your favorite flavors? And really having the whole family engage in the process of a commitment to want to do this together. It's amazing what can come from that. There's also discussion about who's gonna do the cooking. Are we gonna cook together as a family? Are we gonna take turns? Are we gonna share in this responsibility? Are we gonna do it as a team? There's so many ways to take those first steps, and it's really about figuring out what works for you, what will inspire you, and what will help you to get started.
I think a big one I always say to families too is make sure all electronics are off. So if we're rushing through our world and then we sit down and there's still phones on the table and we still have that TV going, it's like our sympathetic nervous system never really calms.
Yes.
Whereas I think a lot of the joy in family dinner, with practice comes with just going, this is our space just to calm that nervous system and allow our relaxation system to kick in.
Absolutely. There's, we know technology is go, go, go all the time. And, we're constantly looking at so many different screens and absorbing so much information coming at us all the time that I absolutely agree with you. I think that's a huge part of it. To be able to say, this is a screen-free experience. Obviously maybe you're looking at a recipe on your phone. Okay, fine. But it's about making that commitment to say, I'm going to give the people that I love my full undivided attention, and I'm going to let them really have my full focus so that I'm not split into all these different areas. And there might be some resistance, the phone's ringing or, a friend is texting. It's hard to do that. But again, if you find a way to be able to say, whether it's once a week, it's for 10 minutes, you're able to start smaller and build on those successes. And I think before you realize it, you're looking for those opportunities because they are so enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. And when I think about traditions that we want to pass down to our children, one day when my kids are, in their 20s, 30s, I want them to say, this was a big part of who we were as a family. And I want them to do the same with their families.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, really what we're talking about is ritual. And every family has their rituals. It's really just figuring out what do you want them to look like, what do you want to be able to take away from it, and how do you create the space for it.
It's so beautiful. I absolutely love that. Julie, for our professionals out there who want to become culinary art therapists, where do they start?
So send me an email, look me up online. I spent before COVID, a couple of years before COVID, I actually spent a good amount of time creating a curriculum for other professionals who want to do this work as well. I had so many people reach out to me and say, "This is so great. How do I do it?" And for many years, I was just kind of telling them I'm winging it. And I decided that that answer wasn't acceptable anymore. And I spent a few years really thinking about all my years doing this and making a manual for other clinicians, other professionals to be able to do this kind of work. So it's very exciting, and I'm very proud to be able to say that I do have that offering for people, and love being able to collaborate and share my experience with others and really help other people start and grow their own practice.
I love that. That's absolutely beautiful. Judy, for our families out there, our professionals out there, what are some final words that you want to leave them with?
I would say remember that this is fun, that this is a really simple way to make a big difference and a big impact on your life and your loved ones' lives. That, thankfully most of us live in a space where we have a kitchen. It doesn't need to be a big fancy commercial kitchen. As long as you have a countertop and some basic utensils, you can do this. And I think um, it's a very easy, simple way to start doing something in your life that can make really big impact.
Well, I love it. Okay, so I know that there's people listening in today who are definitely going to want to connect with you. You've mentioned your Instagram account. Where else can they connect with you?
So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. Send me an email, culinaryarttherapy@gmail.com. And I'm always happy to connect with people online, in person, on Zoom. I'm very passionate about sharing and growing this practice. So I definitely look forward to hearing from others.
Thank you, Judy. I think it's so powerful. I think we need more alternative ways of offering people healing. And often that traditional counseling setting just isn't it for a lot of people. Whereas to me, this is offering a whole new light to people
Yes.
out there who might be struggling.
Yes. Again, we're all different. We all have different needs, and talk therapy is wonderful. And I'm definitely an advocate and a believer. But sometimes people need something else or they need something more. And this is a great approach.
Thank you for the beautiful work that you do, Judy.
Thank you so much for having me.